everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to the Happenings podcast.
Welcome back. I do like the setup quite a bit. All right, so for this week, I have 4 short stories. Most of them are not real horror, they're mostly urban legends. And then from here, we will have our viewers vote on which ones they want to have the ending or a deep dive into.
You control the
Alright.
screen.
What?
I said you control the screen.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant like actually me. I was like, what do you mean I control? I can't control anything from my side. I'm not recording. All right, so because I'm so funny, I titled this episode Tales Beyond the Grave. Because for those who can't see my binder, whenever I bring my binder to your house, it says Tales Beyond the Grave on the inside of them. All of the stories are like labeled that way because that's how I can organize them in my Google Docs. I'm like, okay, homework. That's all my podcast. Okay.
Do not bring to class.
Do not. I mean, I can. I just will get. I'll fail for it because no one wants. No one wants to read my research notes. They don't really make sense sometimes. It's like here's bulletin points, and then here's an entire paragraph about how much I hate Arkansas, and then bulletin points again. It comes up a
Viewers
lot.
are gonna. It's gonna be a running theme, and we're gonna like so long game it of why you hate it so much, and they're gonna be like, "So how's Arkansas?" They're gonna start giving you the weather.
I hope not because I absolutely hate Arkansas. Like, still so passionate. I hate that state. I hate it. Shouldn't count. It shouldn't be part of this.
I'm so
but
curious.
Soon.
Soon.
To the point where I'm like, it's almost. It's not nearly close to October, but I'm like, soon enough we can do like every single week. I think it's gonna take a month. Like I think it's gonna literally be 4 episodes of why I hate it in this one case.
Well, honestly, with the hatred, I'm not surprised.
Oh, yeah, and it's impressive, and it's still ongoing because
Oh,
they fixed it. Yeah,
that part I'm surprised at.
Yeah, it's been since the 80s. The case is 40 years old.
Delightful.
I was not born in the 80s.
Don't do this. We're having a good time.
Oh!
And by the way, I have a question for you. This is totally, you can edit out, you can keep it. I know Mom's gonna find this funny. By the way, you can edit this part out, but show her. Adore the comments. Hilarious. Human Centipede 1, 10 out of 10. Do it again.
It was made in 2010.
Do it again.
Said, like, it was, our parents made such a big deal about how it's not our generations. That's 2010. That's your guys' generation. I also want to point out, in 2010, I was 8 years old.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, okay, back to it. Sorry, I got us derailed.
No worries. I wanted to start us off. We have 4 stories. The first one's gonna be Dudley Town. This one, I think, personally, is gonna be the most boring of them all. I think it's interesting. It's just not nearly as interesting. So we're putting it first, so our viewers don't even know. Boop. Dudley Town. Alright. Dudley Town is a small town, quotation marks, in Connecticut. It is known for its iron mines, good timber, beautiful location, misfortune, madness, and death. Yeah, it's like, like super usual. Also, Dudley Town is also called the Village of the Damned, and that got coined somewhere in the 80s and 90s. It started to be called the Village of the Damned.
I love where this is going. Yeah, I love it.
Place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. Although known as Dudley Town, it was never actually large enough to be qualified as a town, and is known on all like historical records as a village. I just love the fact that like its name is Dudley Town and it's a village.
Makes sense. Checks out.
Yeah. So the top left corner picture, that is the entrance to Dudley Town. And for this one, it just says Dudley because it was recently put in. It was put in probably around the early 2000s. So they took the town part off because finally people realized like it's not big enough to qualify. We need to stop calling it a town.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's real fun. Our first known case of death in the village was a beheading of an English nobleman. He's actually thought to be the reason why the town is cursed. So he came here from England, betrayed the king. I think we'll get to in it at some point, and I'll be able to say like which king it is. So he betrays the king, runs away to America, and then gets killed. And then the entire town for the rest of the time is cursed.
Love it. Love it. I mean, I love a good Regency curse.
I mean, it's classic. So he was murdered in the 16th century for treason against the king.
I was born in Massachusetts.
You could have gone. You could have visited. I'm so sad that
I created it.
I'm glad you were here, but I'm so sad that you don't live in Massachusetts because I really want to live in Massachusetts.
It was nice
I like the
while
idea.
I was there for a whole 2 minutes.
I think I'm just really tired of the 100 degrees California weather,
As you should
and
be.
I'm really done with it. I want to go live in the snow. It sounds peaceful. Other noticeable things about the land is its unnatural silence. No sounds of birds, insects, squirrels, or large mammals walking through the grounds. This has been reported since the 1960s. There's actual recordings. I couldn't find any on YouTube that are allowed for us to replay here, but there's just people panning through, and I just thought that they muted the sound, and then you can hear them walking, and there's nothing else.
That's
It's
terrifying.
it's not a good sign. You need to be like aware of how many insects are around you because if the insects stop moving, something terrible is happening.
Hmm.
I learned that from a supernatural episode.
Oh, God.
You can judge me all you want, but the beginning of the curse can be tracked down to the story that we spoke about earlier of Edmund Dudley, who settled in the small gap, which is what they called it in all of his writings. He called it a gap. I think he just meant that it was like a space between two hills.
Mm.
So he settled in a small gap in 1738 with Thomas Griffiths or Griffith, depending on who you read this from. I really like the name Griffith because I think
Hmm.
it's funny to say th th th, and it makes my lisp come out. Um, then the Abel family and Barzali family arrived along with them, but they came a couple years later. When Dudley Town was still new, they cleared the land and formed a community that was sustained by iron mining and farming grains such as flax, wheat, and corn. They weren't good at farming, they just barely made enough for them to live off of. It was
Hmm.
not good ground, but it had lots of iron, it had really good trees, so it was able to produce all this lumber and trade to the surrounding towns. Because the village was so small and settlers weren't able to grow enough food for themselves, they had to travel outside of the hills to buy essential products. So they would go buy food, anything that they needed to clean the house, anything that they needed to build anything new that wasn't strictly made out of wood or iron. They also had to go out of town to go to church and bury their dead. Since there's no church in Dudley Town, there's no graveyard.
That's kind of crazy.
It's really weird because of how many reports of dead there are and how many reports of Not found bodies is really the key alarming part. There's actually a statistic of how many bodies cannot be found, but are presumed to be dead. Because, they're from the 1800s.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That smells great. I'm telling you. That smells
Yeah.
delightful. There.
A good time.
That's why there's no
Uh,
bugs. Actually, that
no.
hey, no, wait. What? Wait a second. Wouldn't that make more bugs? Wouldn't that make bugs appear? Decomp bugs?
There should be, but there
Should-
isn't.
That's terrifying itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of questions for the Dudley Town, and no one can answer them because that town can't talk. It's not able to. It'd be way scarier if it did.
Yeah.
If I suddenly got screamed at by a town, I would be like, all right.
What would California towns say? Break them down one by one.
I don't know enough about this state. I've only lived here my entire life. I think LA is like a full-on smoker cough at this point. Like, it can't even talk. It's so dead to the world. It needs healthcare badly. I think Burbank sounds like a solicitor. They're not known for much. They're known for being close to Los Angeles.
For being close to
That's
Los Angeles.
It's not a fun place to live. They have good burgers though. Big Bob's. Big Bob's is the best burgers. Colfax sounds like an old white man. I think.
I feel
I
like
think that's just their demographic.
Oakland just sounds like the sound of running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Sacramento sounds pompous currently.
But also sweaty.
So
And I don't know how to describe the sound of sweaty, but you know what I'm
Yes.
saying.
They're like huffy. It's like when you're running too fast and now you have to catch up.
And like thighs are clinking together.
I
And
think
sticking to
San Diego-
chairs. The sound of
Oh.
thighs sticking to chairs.
Don't even make me think of that. I think San Diego sounds like a surfer dude, but like not a real surfer, but a 1980s like cartoonish version. Like
Like a
I
Popeye
now realize
surfer.
how many times I say like now. I'm switching one out for the other. Damn. Yeah, he sounds like a 1980s stereotype. That's like all of
That's all I know
that's all
too.
of the ones I know off the top of my head.
Oh, San Francisco.
Oh yeah.
A queer greaser.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That seems right. Okay. Back to this town. Before I lose my place again. So since they had no place to bury their dead, they had to leave the town to go to church and get rid of anyone. In 1792, very different than 1972. In 1792, the first of many untimely deaths occur. Gershon Holstein. And we're just going to pause to the first name right there. Gershon? It's a good first name. That should be your kid's first name. Gershon.
Gershon?
Gershon.
You
Gershon. It's just it's a
Gershon.
lovely name. It's so great. It's like
Ger-
Henry Gershon. Or Hansel.
I don't like the other one you said.
Gershon?
No, that one.
I love Henry.
I don't.
I've never met a Henry I don't like. I've also never met a Henry.
You could.
I don't want to. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm actually good. I'm gonna stick with my Gershon. So Gershon was murdered in his friend's home, William Tanner. He likes to the Adele Dudley family. Afterwards, Tanner started talking about wild animals and demons who lived in their woods. I think it's really funny that he talked about how wild animals lived in the woods, like no fucking duh, dude. And then he was like, also demons? I'm like, why didn't you just start off with the demons part, my guy?
Never let him know your next move.
I also like
Duh.
the fact that we're told that Gershon is murdered, but we never get told why or by who. It's just stated in like all their historical references. He was murdered. End of story.
Yeah, wrap this shit up.
Look, I think I could commit so many crimes in the 1790s.
Mm.
I would have gotten rid of so much. I would also be accused of being a witch because I'm a woman, but I'm a woman who can read. That's really the problem right there. It's not that I'm a woman, it's that I can read.
In The Handmaid's Tale, you'd lose a finger for that.
Thank you. I live there
Mm-hmm.
currently, it feels like.
You know, you know. Proceed.
So, he talks about wild animals and demons living in their woods. Each of the family members started talking about the wild creatures slowly creeping out into the woods, haunting them and trying to steal their souls. Last to die was the Abel father. So first goes his mother or his wife, and then his 2 kids, and then it's just the Tanner father who proclaims that he's tired of the demons haunting him. He's like, I can't do this anymore. My kids are dead. My wife is dead. I have no reason to live. And he walks into the woods and is never seen of again. I'm like, that's a bold move. I think he got killed by a bear. I don't think it was demons. I think it was a bear. But cool?
Suspicious.
Yeah. Oh, we should go to our next slide of the PowerPoint. Boop. So, the first 2 pictures you're going to see, the one in the top left corner, that is the train station. It is no longer in use, of course, in Dudley Town, and it's completely overgrown and actually doesn't have rails anymore.
Okay, I was about to say, I don't know. It feels like I'm not looking at a train station.
It's just the platform. That's all that's left since 2010, I believe. The next to the right is the depiction of what these demons or shadowy figures look like. They're also often referenced as having antlers. So I think that's why they kept saying that they were wild animals, because I think they thought they looked similar to wild animals.
It was a moose.
Or a wendigo. We don't know.
Or a wendigo.
I'm just saying, it could be a wendigo. It's the right region.
The right region.
They have snow there. I'm sure there's wendigos. The last picture on the bottom left corner, because the one to the right no longer exists for some reason on this computer. That's a picture. I don't know if yours can see it. My computer, you can see it. Okay, mine won't see it anymore, so that's fine. So the bottom 2 pictures, that's actually pictures inside of the Dudley town, like looking forwards. And there's just these shadow walls where the flash can't reach anymore. It's so dark there. It's uncomfortable.
I don't like it.
After William Tanner dies, or sorry, after Gershon Holster dies, William Tanner's family goes insane. His wife and his kids die. He runs into the forest and he's like, peace, my bros, I'm gonna go die. Call it a good day. Since they live next to the Abel family now starts seeing these demons. Because it's just a curse that goes neighbor to neighbor, I guess? I don't know. It's pretty funny. It's not funny. It's sad that these people died. It's a little funny looking at historical records being like, and then this person's neighbor dies, and then this person's neighbor dies, and then this person's neighbor dies. It just keeps going down this line. I'd be like, what if you just moved to the other side? Would it
Like, just to
go
get
back
away
around?
from this.
Yeah, like would it come back? Does it skip you? Does it go backwards and then forwards again? I have questions. I want to test out the curse. I'm not allowed to live here, but I want to test it. Yeah. So, after the Tanner family and the Gershon family, the Abel family starts to also go insane. Last to die would be the Abel father. His wife and children were gone from this world, and he secluded himself to his house. And one day, the house mysteriously caught on fire. We don't know how. There was no reports of even having a fireplace in the house, so no one really understands how the fire started. Just they know that suddenly the house was on fire. And Mr. Abel walked out of the house, looked back, didn't run out, was not afraid as his house is completely engulfed in flames at this point, walks into the woods and is never seen from again.
Incredible. Because that's how it happens normally.
People are real cool with walking into these woods. I'm not. But, I also don't want to die. So he's walking into these woods at nights, and his neighbors call out after him, and he doesn't say anything back to them, he doesn't look back at them. And of course, one of these people who calls out to him is his neighbor, Nathaniel Carter, with his family. And as we know, it's going to go to the next neighbor. So Nathaniel Carter and his family were growing concerned. Nathaniel went to New York City to gain residency. They moved from New York to Connecticut, and they're like, this is too weird. I'm going to go actually back to New York, and then he's going to send for his family. So Nathaniel moves back to New York and leaves his wife and 3 young children behind in this death trap.
Love it.
As he was gone, his wife and children were reportedly killed by native tribes. I don't think that's real. I think that's propaganda. To my knowledge, there was native tribes near where they were, but they have no historical reports of going in there or near that place because it was too dark. It was you don't go there. And also, it just seems like a lie people would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 1700s. It seems real easy just to blame people when your wife dies from an illness or suddenly leaves because you abandoned her in this death trap filled with demons and darkness. She might have just skipped town and changed her name and married someone else. But so
Imagine.
after reportedly being killed by natives, Nathaniel returns to see his family's remnants. It's stated that he saw them hanging in a tree. It's stated in a way as if he wrote down I saw my wife and children hanging in this tree as they were decomposing, and then reportedly gets murdered. He also reportedly gets murdered by natives almost instantaneously. So I don't know when he wrote this letter.
How would he? Yeah.
That's why I think this is what really clued me in. This is made up. I think he got murdered by someone, or they were like, this guy was here at some point. Let's make up a story. But it's reported in multiple sources and through several newspapers. So I'm like, okay. Maybe they gave him enough time to write a letter and they were like, now we murder you. But doesn't seem like a thing a murderer would do. Some cases say that he was caught by the same tribe. Some say that he was found hanging near the remnants of his family, like he committed suicide. That one I think is way more realistic, but I also don't think that his family's remnants would be hanging in this town. Other people still live there. Someone would have taken them down. But most chilling of all these cases, they also state that he walked into the woods just like the Abel father and several others, never to be seen from again. So that's another constant, is people saying oh, they just walked into the woods. And then we didn't see them.
This is just a Bermuda Triangle forest? What?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's dark and spooky, and maybe they were fine. Maybe they just walked one town over and just were like, all right, I live here now. Call it a day. I don't know. It's real weird. After the American Revolution, General Herman Swift went to Dudley Town, taking up residency with his 3rd wife. I know nothing about his first 2 wives, but I know that he had his 3rd wife here. While sitting on the porch in the evening, lightning struck. Okay, I should rephrase this. So, while he and his 3rd wife were sitting on their porch, it was supposed to be clear skies and bright daylight. His wife was suddenly struck by lightning and died on their porch.
Yeah.
I couldn't find this picture of what house it is. I've been told it's just a normal porch where has no covering. I was also told at one point it was a covered porch, so I don't know how the lightning got to her, but all reports say that it was clear skies and then she was struck by lightning and died.
Okay, yeah. Super
cool. Herman Swift swore that the sky was clear, and that the land they were living on was cursed, taking his 3rd wife away from him. He soon went mad and became hysterical, telling everyone and anyone who listened to him not to live in Dudley Town. Many deaths and stories of madness have proceeded after this. Dudley Town and its residents had residents up until 1910, where this town was now part of a nature preserve. It's owned privately by a couple who were interested in the stories. You cannot go there anymore. If you go there, you will be prosecuted as trespassing. So that's why I can't live there. It's not that I wouldn't want to or told not to. but it's illegal to live there. It was also once visited by Ed and Lorraine Warren, who coined the name Village of the Damned, saying it was one of the most infested with demon towns they've ever visited. So, take that as you will. That's our most boring one. Like, there's nothing, like, truly scary, because all of the reports of these demons are from the 1700s. So there wasn't, like, someone who wrote out, like, this is what the urban legend says.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now we get to go to one of my favorite urban legends, the Bunny Man. If you would go to your next slide. It just says Bunny Man. Okay. So this one I heard about as a kid, and it freaked me out for a little bit. And then I remembered I live nowhere near Virginia, so I'm fine.
Oh
And it
God,
hasn't freaked me
Virginia.
out since there. Yeah.
West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home.
Oh, you're singing that song.
Country road.
I forgot that song had the word Virginia in it. I was like, what song are you singing? Okay. All right.
Oh, I don't like it.
Yeah. October 19th, 1970, a chilling encounter near Fairfax, Virginia would spawn the legend of the Bunny Man. An Air Force cadet, Robert Burnett, and his fiancée, who doesn't have a name in every story or police report I found, just the fiancée, because, you know, it was a woman. She has no name.
It was a woman. She has no name.
Look, you'd be surprised how many stories are just like, this man with 4 names, his 4 sons, all of their names written, and his wife, no name, not needed. Look, I've done a lot of research in old cases. This is all I got. So, uh, Robert Burnett and his fiancée found themselves face to face with a man in a white rabbit costume holding a hatchet. This bizarre incident marked the beginning of the Bunny Man legend. Robert Burnett and his fiancée parked their car in an empty field, intending to visit family nearby. As their engine idled, they suddenly saw movement outside of the corner of their eye. Without warning, the passenger side window shattered, sending fragments of glass into the car, and a figure dressed in white stepped close enough to the car that the couple would be able to see a wooden-handled hatchet in the figure's hand. The Bunny Man yelled out accusations to the couple, saying that they were trespassing on private land. They weren't. And that he had written down their license plate and number. This was to, like, scare them into thinking, I think, that he was going to call the police. But they weren't on private land. It was a public, like, area. It
Weird.
was also the 70s.
Yeah, so
But
no one's gonna follow that.
yeah, like, why would they care? It was just some, like, it was basically a field near a bridge. If you see the bridge to the right of the first picture, that's just like a bridge nearby. I couldn't find even pictures of the field anymore because, you know, it's not the 70s anymore and it's been developed, but at one point it was just a field and people were allowed to park there. So the couple, understandably shaken up at this point, fled the scene. After they had put some distance between themselves and the masked man, they discovered the object that had broken their window. It was another wooden hatchet that was thrown by the man. That's what the first picture is a police sketch of the Bunny Man throwing the hatchet into the window. I don't know why he's turned around at this point. I think police originally thought, like, he threw the hatchet and, like, walked away a little bit and then came back around to be like, ah, scary.
I don't like it.
No, you shouldn't. Someone threw a hatchet through their window. The picture underneath it of the hatchet, that's the real hatchet. You can
Yeah, I
clearly
don't
see
like
it.
it.
Uh-huh. After the attack, they reported the incident to local authorities. While speaking to the police, Robert spoke in detail of the man in the bunny ear mask he wore, and the bunny ear mask he wore. This confused the police not only due to the odd choice for a person in the 1970s to wear, but because Robert's fiance said he did not wear bunny ears or a bunny man mask, but wore a white crown-like object.
Mm.
So it's weird. It was a weird thing. I don't know how they got it so different from each other. I mean, it was nighttime, so maybe they were just like a little bit confused, but I personally believe there's a huge difference between like spikes and bunny ears.
Yeah.
So, but they did both say that they could see his face under the mask or Robert said he could see it under the mask, and his fiance said he wasn't wearing a mask, so I could see his face.
Mm.
So because of the two different descriptions, this only filled people's fears of the bunny. Oh my gosh, only filled people's fears of the bunny man. On October 22nd, remember, the first incident is the 19th. This is 3 days apart. October 22nd, 1970. Days after, the Washington Post published an article titled "The Bunny Man: Suit Sought After in Fairfax." This piece details the assault of the hatchet-throwing man. Law enforcement took the report seriously and took time examining the hatchet and looking for clues and details, even through the somewhat conflicting reports. But nothing came of it, and soon the trail went cold. In the end, the hatchet was returned to Roberts at the end of the investigation. I don't know why they gave him back the hatchet. It wasn't his hatchet, and I feel like that's good evidence to have.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah. Luckily, at some point, they get the hatchet back, which is why we have that picture of the hatchet. It's now on display somewhere in Virginia. Like, I think it's in, like, a museum of morbid curiosities. But it's a weird thing to give back to someone. Also, I don't think I would want the hatchet that was thrown through my window.
No, thank you.
Like, if this bunny man's worried about me trespassing on his private property, I think he'll be real worried about me keeping his hatchet.
I don't like it.
No, I don't think
I don't like it.
As the investigation lost momentum, the second sighting was reported on October 29th of 1970, 10 days after the first report. Paul Phillips, a construction guard, found himself face to face with someone who looked eerily similar to the bunny man sitting on the steps of an unfinished house, wearing a white, black, and somewhat appeared to be brown. I say that because they couldn't tell if it was brown like dirt or brown like dried blood. Brown costume. The guard said that he seemed to be about 20 years old, white guy, hacking away at the porch post with a long wooden handled axe. So that's the scariest sight I could ever think of. Like, you're just doing your job, and then there's this guy with a hatchet, like, trying to hit at a wooden post. Terrifying. No, not a fan. I'm just gonna turn around and pretend I didn't see anything and then call the police.
And be like, oh, that's some crazy shit.
Yeah, like I'm running the opposite way. I'm not getting near this man. According to Philip's account, the bunny man said to him, quote, "All you people trespassing around here." The rabbit man told him as he whacked 8 gashes into the pole, quote, "If you don't get out of here, I'm going to bust you in the head." So just threatening murder, super chill. Phillips, of course, retreated to his vehicle to grab his handgun, and when he returned to the bunny man, he was now gone. But he did leave his hatchet as well as the hacked down fence pole.
Why is the hatchet just... How many do you have?
A lot of money.
How many do you have?
I don't know how much hatchets cost in the 1970s, but I mean, like, hatchets, that's not a cheap tool to buy. It's not like a screw or like even hammers are expensive. Maybe I'm just buying really expensive hammers, I'm realizing, because I think hammers are like $3.
No, they're expensive. They're expensive.
Let me find out. Hey, Siri.
You're gonna activate everyone's Siri.
They'll be fine. Yes, how much are the hammers? And then she turned off on me. Alright, Siri's useless. Fuck that. The lack of tangible proof at the scene, and by tangible proof I mean any like DNA or reference to who this man was, made it difficult for police to follow up. The encounter only occurred 10 days apart and only 1 block away from the first site. So this guy's in a very small radius. He's just causing terror on this one street, basically. The fear and fascination of the bunny man intensified. In the aftermath of the 2 confirmed encounters leading up, the town's growing fear as Halloween grew closer caused it so that children were no longer excited or interested in going to school. So more than one sighting came through about this bunny man attacking things with hatchets. Not a lot of them have been confirmed to be real. Most of them are thought to be just like scary stories that someone said, or someone said it to get into the newspaper, basically. With increased sightings, police were struggling to keep up with every news story, especially as evidence remained scarce. The only physical evidence they had was the hatchet from the first scene. With the growing sightings, children were kept from school, and with few attending school, police threw more and more resources towards the case to try to get kids back. One newspaper states, and this is such a 1970s thing to say. I just want you to prepare yourself here. Like, I make jokes about, like, oh, it's the 1950s of it all. Oh, it's the 1920s of it all. This is the 1970s of it all. All right. Are you prepared?
I'm prepared.
Okay. This is the headline. Within days, school children like 11-year-old Jim Walters were petrified to bike to school. Jim Walters said, quote, "The story went from a guy in a white bunny suit with an axe who vandalized a couple of times to an axe murderer at the end of the road. As an 11-year-old, I couldn't give it much perspective." You're 11.
Why are you
asking
waiting
you?
in general?
Why are people
Why
asking?
are you here?
Who's asking this 11-year-old? And also, Jim Walters is such an old man name. Like, I understand it's an old man name because, like, that's my grandparents. But still. What the fuck? It's a little funny. This case was never solved, by the way. There is more, like, information about it. I just did a quick overview, but this case is not solved. The story that I heard as a child, this is the one that made me nervous. The original story of the Bunnyman urban legend dates back to 1904. As the legend goes, a bus transporting patients from the local asylum, Lorton Reformation, so that's a different hospital, supposedly. There's different names. That's the one that I just knew as a kid. Crashed. This caused all of the patients on board to escape. All but 2 inmates, Douglas Griffin and Marcus Walters, were found. When authorities searched for the 2 men, they found the remnants of a rabbit stew in the area. They also found the body of Marcus hung by the bridge. That's the picture of the bridge that's in the photo slide. That's the supposed Bunnyman Bridge. The story claims that Griffin was using rabbits for food and perhaps more disturbingly for clothes. Griffin had been convicted of killing his family and soon was believed to have killed Marcus. Soon after, the terrifying figure of a man in a bunny suit began to stalk around the area and overpass in Clifton, and this earned the area the title of the Bunnyman Bridge. According to the legend, a group of teenagers were hanging out by the Bunnyman Bridge on Halloween night. They did not return home the next morning. A search party was sent out, and the teens were found strung up underneath the tunnel of the Bunnyman Bridge. It looked like they had been mutilated with a hatchet, and the story transformed from a one-night axe-wielding man who skins his victims to something much more gruesome. He leaves he leaves their remains hanging from the Bunnyman Bridge. Some versions claim that on Halloween night, anyone daring to visit the Bunnyman Bridge is at risk of being killed and skinned by the Bunnyman. So
Well,
that's the story
a
I
very
knew.
different turn, and I can understand why you were petrified.
Yeah, I was very scared. If you want to go to the next slide, it's just newspaper clippings of the Bunnyman. So, like, there was at one point a real Bunnyman, and there was real fear. But the story I was told as a kid is so entirely different. It's way scarier than this guy who's like, this guy never actually killed anyone.
You know,
He
like,
just like was screaming at children. And then the story I was told was like he skins people and wears their their skin as suits, and he's gonna make you into a bunny suit. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, it's super fun. So, our next one. And now you're going to skip over to your next page so you can just see the photos. And let me know if you can see all the photos. Mine, again, has a bunch of question marks instead of the actual photos. So, Cropsey. The story of Cropsey takes place in Staten Island during the 1970s. It's stated, "Don't wander near the woods or Cropsey might reach out and grab you." Cropsey was used to be a patient at this Seaview Hospital for the Insane until it was shut down. Now, mad with grief after losing his only child, he resorts to kidnapping school children and keeping them as their replacements. But when they aren't similar enough to his own child, he resorts to killing them for tricking him. That's the original story. That's the story I knew. Sadly, there's so much more true than false with this urban legend. Staten Island is different from the rest of New York. The area is largely undeveloped woodlands, and buildings in the woods are often left abandoned. Perfect for a killer who's taking his victims into. In some versions of the story, Cropsey has a hook for a hand, in others he carries a rusty knife, but all versions he is mad and looking for a replacement for his child. He's said to be covered in scars and burns, disfiguring him from his time in Seaview Hospital. But where do urban legends come from? Removing the hook from a hand and the scars and burns, we get closer to the truth. The real Cropsey of Staten Island was named Andre Rand. Andre Rand was born sometimes in the 1940s, and in 1983, he worked as a custodian for Willbrook State School. This year that he worked at the school, he took a bus of 11 children without authorization, drove them to New Jersey Airport. While the attempted kidnapping was unsuccessful, it did not make the crime any less terrible.
That's fucking crazy. What do you mean? You just stole a bunch of them.
He ended up only getting about 11 months sentenced to prison for kidnapping children.
That's crazy. That many?
He got 11 months, one for each child he kidnaps. He only served, I think, 6 of them.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Even after getting out, parents would often see him hanging out with children. He would try to befriend them. He would go on walks with them and take them to the local diner for a bite. Apart from the kidnapping of the busload of children, he would often be seen as the last person with a missing child. However, no one could prove that he played a part in these missing kids. In 1987, Jennifer Schweiger, I'm going to mispronounce her name, Schweiger, I think that's Schweiger, would disappear. If you want to go to your next slide. That top picture on the left, that's Seabrook Hospital. That's where he stole the kids from.
That's crazy, but how do they say, oh, we have no proof that he stole, but he has a record of doing that, like just that?
So he had a record, he was convicted of stealing the 11 kids from the school. I would be often seen with all of these missing kids before they go missing, but that's just saying you saw someone.
That's saying you saw someone who commonly steals kids with the kid who went missing.
There's a lot of questions about why this case was handled the way it was. In 1987, 12-year-old Jennifer would disappear. She disappeared July 9th, and she was seen to be with an unknown man prior to her disappearance. In 1988, Andre was taken into custody for kidnapping a first-degree murder of a child. This was the first murder he was legally tried for, but would not be the last. He was also accused for the disappearance of the following children: Alice Pierce, Holly Ann Hughes, Teresa Jackson, Hank Garfo. However, he was only charged with the kidnapping of Holly and the murder of Jennifer. The jury of these cases stated that it was clear enough that Randy had kidnapped all these children, but they were not convinced that he had killed them, even after their bodies were found. In the absence of a murder conviction and extreme nature of his crimes, he will be behind bars until 2037. This will mean that he can live out the rest of his life out of prison in his 90s.
Not thrilled.
Rand was known to the police for many years due to his history of crimes against children, both in heinous natures and in sexual. In 1969, he served 16 months in jail for the attempted sexual assault of a 9-year-old. He had access to children as he was a custodian at the Willowbrook State School that was meant for children who faced learning disabilities. The school was known to be a hell on earth for children who would face many who faced sexual abuse, corporal punishment, unsanitary conditions, and much more. Although we will never know how many crimes were committed by Andre, we do know how horrible this place was for them. Now, if you want to play the first and then second video.
Down syndrome. Today, though, there is even more anxiety for the family of Jennifer Schweiger. The body of a young child was found buried in a fresh grave on Staten Island last night. It was a young girl. The question now, is it their daughter or another family's daughter who has been suffering the same tragedy? We have team coverage on the search now, beginning with John Slattery, who's live on Staten Island. John?
Carol, the body found last night has not yet been positively identified. The medical examiner's office has said merely it is the body of a young girl. And the police are helping the medical examiner in his investigation.
We've provided Dr. Gross with dental charts and fingerprints to try to determine the identity of the person. After that, then Dr. Gross is going to be conducting tests as to what the cause of death was.
Police say they could know later today or tomorrow if the body is that of Jennifer Schweiger. One of the volunteers who helped in the search is a friend of Jennifer's parents.
They're very, very upset. We did not have any confirmation on the body yet, and we were just sitting and waiting.
Among those volunteers who actually found the body were George Kramer, a retired fireman, and his wife Nancy, who'd searched the area before and decided to go back to a mound they had seen.
There was like a soft mound of dirt there, and I just kind of felt sick to my stomach. I felt like she was there, and I told my husband, I said, she's there. And then we started digging with sticks, and it was soft dirt.
Now, the body was found in that shallow grave about 8 o'clock last night. Channel 2's Mary Murphy was at the
But when a retired fireman returned just before 8 p.m. last night, he dug into the mound of dirt he had noticed last Saturday near Building 27 and discovered flesh, then a hand and foot. Medical examiner Elliot Gross made the finding official at 2 a.m.
We have a body of short stature that was covered with dirt and is going to have to be examined tomorrow.
As soon as the body was removed by ambulance at 3 a.m., the testing began to determine if this was indeed Jennifer Schweiger, the 12-year-old girl with Down syndrome who disappeared 5 weeks ago, last seen walking hand in hand with a local drifter. Last week, police arrested 43-year-old Andre Rand, a convicted child sex offender, and charged him with kidnapping Jennifer. Now they want to know if Rand is connected to the disappearance of other Staten Island girls, and whether any more bodies are buried on the old Willowbrook grounds.
There may be other bodies there, we don't know.
Do you have any reason?
And there may be other evidence connected with this body.
Police say they found the body about...
He murdered 5 children, suspectedly. He's not convicted of murdering 5, but we're pretty sure. He's convicted of murdering Jennifer. He's convicted for the kidnapping of Holly.
That's so upsetting.
Yeah. El Silbón. Silbón. I say it with an Italian accent for no reason. So, El Silbón, meaning the whistler in Spanish, is a Venezuelan folklore legend of a cursed soul who wanders the plains at night carrying a sack of bones. You're going to want to go back to the very beginning and then just look at his pictures because they're creepy.
What a cute design, though. I've got to be honest, my art brain loves it.
I know, right? It was like really weird, like looking at all of his pictures because there's no like physical footage because he's an urban legend. But like all of his like statues, he's always just like this weird little faced man carrying around his sack of bones.
It's giving the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy, which you may not know.
I don't, but I thought he looked like
Oh,
the
God.
demon from. I thought he looked like the demon from Over the Garden Wall, which I think you would love. It's very cute.
I love Out for the Garden Wall. You don't never Billy and Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. That's such a you show.
I might have seen it. It just might be a long time since I've like thought about it. As you know, I forget names pretty often. All right, so he wanders the plains at night carrying around a sack of bones. He's also known as being called the Unless. He is cursed by his grandfather for killing his own father, and is depicted as being vengeful and appeared to those who have committed sins or violated ancestral traditions, often punishing them with death and taking their bones. So he punishes people who cheat on their wives, who are womanizers, who drink too much, who go to parties, and sometimes random civilians who are innocent.
Okay. That's very Dexter of him.
Yeah, sometimes he just gets it wrong. He is known as the Whistler because he whistles all the time. The way you can tell if he's close to you is the farther away his whistle sounds from you. The closer it is, the safer you are. Nothing more disturbing than the version stating that this son was a spoiled brat whose parents catered to his every wish. One afternoon, he demanded his father for a hunt for a deer, his favorite meat. But when his father did not find a deer and returned empty-handed, his son killed him, cutting out his heart and liver, and then cooking it for his mother and him to eat for dinner. His mother, finding the meat tough and starting to suspect something was amiss, she discovers that these organs were of her husband and cursed her son for eternity. Another version states that he found his father having intercourse with his domestic part, like his woman, basically his girlfriend, his wife, whatever it was at this point in time. There's some versions that state that they were like in love, like they were cheating. There's some versions that states that he's sexually assaulting her. It doesn't really state which one. It's pretty even. Often with urban legends, it's changed to fit the time period, to fit whatever they think is morally just at this point. It stated that after finding him having relations with this woman he loves, he murders her as well as murders his father. Afterwards, once his grandfather found out of him killing his father as well as this woman, in every report, even when she's being raped, he kills the girl also. Not a good move. Afterwards, his grandfather whipped him to death, pouring alcohol on his wounds in the middle of the countryside, destroying him. His wounds were not only cleansed with alcohol, but with chili peppers, lemon juice, and a sack of his father's remains were placed on his wounded back.
That's very Ruby Frankie of them.
Yeah. So it stated that he's so mad that he tortures him. Placing the remains of his father onto his back was to give him the weight of his own sin to drag on forever, and to drag on in the afterlife specifically.
Wow, kind of poetic, honestly.
Yeah, they did not realize this would cause him to turn into a ghost or a wandering spirit, though. And then his grandfather released 2 rabid, starving dogs to set upon him. Before releasing him, his grandfather condemned him to carry the bones of his father for eternity, characteristically whistled as a resemblance to the music tones of C, D, E, F, G, and B in that order, rising to the tone of F and lowering to the tone of B. If the whistling sounds close, there is no danger and the whistler is far away. But when the whistling sound is distant, it means that he is nearby. It is also said if you hear the whistling, it foretells one's own death, and it may be heard at any time. In this situation, the only thing that can save the victim is the sound of barking dogs, as the spirit tends to take revenge on womanizers. He's looking for people to feed off of. In the summer, people tend to go out farther looking for more resources, so they come to him. In the rainy days, he'll walk into town to get victims himself. He's eager to punish drunkards, womanizers, and sometimes innocent victims. It is said that he sucks the alcohol out of drunkards through their navel, which is real weird and funny.
I don't like that.
He's sucking the alcohol through your belly button.
Okay.
You want to look to the last screen, the next PowerPoint. My favorite drawing of Silbón is on the right. He's just a silly little man.
I don't like it.
He's just a silly little man. He's just so silly. Look at his cute little face. He's so cute. He's just a silly little man. So he'll suck the alcohol out of drunkards through their navel when he finds them alone, and he tears womanizers to pieces, removing their bones and putting them into a sack where the remnants of his father are. Some versions, it says that he appears as a giant 6 meters and moves about in the treetops, creaking and emitting the chilling whistle. Inside of his old tattered sack lies the bones of his father and many victims. And in more renditionings, it's many victims. Other versions says he appears as a shadow of a tall, thin man with a hat and goes after drunkards most of all. It says the whistler can appear in your house at certain nights, drop his sack to the ground, and then count the bones one by one. If one hears it, nothing will happen, but if one doesn't hear it before dawn, that person shall die. So, I don't know why the bone countings part, it only appears fairly recently comparative to the older parts of the legend, which is him walking around murdering drunk people and tearing apart womanizers. But something about I think it was the 30s, is when he starts appearing at doorsteps, or even more terrifyingly, in people's houses. He would walk in, you would hear him, he would drop the sack of bones, making a huge clattering noise, and he would pull out one bone at a time, counting them, counting all of his victims.
That's terrifying.
This, Yeah, if you hear this, you're supposed to stay inside your room, not look at him. If he's in the room, just don't look at him. You're supposed to cover your eyes, like go to sleep, pretend you're still asleep. If you don't hear him while he's in the room, but everyone else does, you're gonna die.
That's so fucking crazy.
Yeah. The part that really freaks me out is the part that says the closer you hear his whistling, the farther he is.
I
The
know,
farther away
that's
it sounds, the closer he is. Really freaks me out. If you like to watch the videos now, the first 2 videos I've sent you.
I don't like it at all.
There's multiple versions of this urban legend, all of them spanning from Venezuela to the rainforest to here now in Mexico as well. Urban legends really do constantly spread and grow and change to fit whatever the time period is. And of course, if our viewers want to know anything more about any of these urban legends, they can vote somewhere down in the comments. I'll have a poll up on one of the like shorts that go up after this video is released. But yeah,
Yeah.
well,
I
it was
did
lovely
not
seeing
like
you.
the bunny one.
I'm sorry, that one's my favorite. I don't
I
like
didn't
Cropsey.
like
Cropsey
it.
freaks me out the most because he's real.
Yeah.
Like the story's not real, but that's a real guy.
Yeah, well, he's a piece of shit, but the bunny just
Yeah.
gives me the heebie-jeebs.
I think you know what? I changed my mind. Not Cropsey. Silbón. I don't like his whistling. That makes me nervous.
It makes me nervous.
It does. It does a lot. Well, it was lovely seeing you guys. I hope you have a great day. I don't remember our outro. It involves crows of some sort.